So let's start with. Now, just tell me, just basic, because these will be for these people. They don't know who you are.
No.
So
From
tell
the
me
day-
where you were, where
From the
you're
day I started off,
from. No, let's start. You start with your name and where you were from. Then we'll go to how you enlisted, or were you from the draft, or that type of thing.
all right, my name's Silvio Belfi, Jr., from 1885 Washington Avenue, Vineland, New Jersey. I was enlisted in the service in 1952. We first went to Delaware to start my career, but we were still civilians. So the first day we were in there, I guess just to keep us busy so that nobody would get over anxious or whatever else, they put us to duty right off the bat. They took us out to the road. Maybe the road was about a half-mile long, quarter-mile long. And they said, all right, now this group was a group of about maybe 20, 30 men. He said, go to the shoulder of the road. When you pick up the stones in your hand, walk across the road and deposit them on the other side of the road. And then when that's done, you pick them up from there and take them back where you got them. I guess it was just, I guess it took us maybe an hour, hour and a half till lunchtime probably. And that was the start of taking orders from in the Army without even a uniform on yet. And then the next day they said divided up us in 4 different groups, 3 different groups. And they said, this group goes on this airplane, another group went onto another airplane, and the third group went onto another airplane. So they were really old transport planes, probably all left over from World War II. So we got into them, and by gosh, that about shake you up, because they had the motors, they started them up. It seemed like the wings were flapping. That's how old they were, and it seemed like out of shape. So we did find out that we were going to go to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. So that's a nice ride. So we took off, we landed, and my friend that I was really friend with from Vineland, he was on the second plane that took off. So our plane landed in Arkansas, and the second plane never landed. So I was quite concerned. I said, my gosh, what the heck happened? Naturally, the Army doesn't tell you too much of what's going on. So that was it. Got up the next morning, and here I find my buddy. I said, Frankie, what happened? He says, well, the plane didn't make it to Arkansas. We were leaking oil. That's the type of planes they had in them days. And we had to make an emergency landing. I forget what state they went in. And he said we had to sleep out in the field all night. But we're back. So that was the first thing to say, oh, brother, this Army. So anyhow, we got to Camp Chaffee. Then they processed us for your uniforms. So that was okay. did everything, and everything they assign you for different things. And they said, well, this was a armor, what the heck were they called now? The 145 Hallister. So it's a small size cannon, really. It's only haul it from place to place with a Jeep. They hook it on the back of a Jeep, and you don't ride with the 105 Hallister. I think there's 6 men it takes to operate one. They got a system. One's got to aim, one's got to get the shell, the other one's got to put it in, the other one's got to whatever happens. But it takes about a half dozen guys to operate it. And so we did that for about a week, and then after we had some basic training and the usual marching and things like that. Then one day they called us out on a Saturday morning, called us out of the barracks, and they put us in lines. Maybe 30, 40 guys in this line, 30, 40, and had quite a few lines in a circle. And the captain was in the center, and he called out these different names. My name happened to be one, and he says, you go in that line. And we formed the line. Did that all the way down. So then it was all done. This line was going to go to electrical school. This line is going to go for cooking. Right on down the line, whatever there is for different positions of what the Army needs. This line for mechanics. This line for drivers. And this line, and the one I was in clerk typist school. So I said, well, I guess that's all right. I did decent in high school, no college. There was quite a few that were in college that had a year or 2 years, but didn't finish or didn't want to finish or whatever. So I said, well, they got the edge on me because I was just a high school graduate. So the first thing I did naturally was call home, tell my parents. Well, guess what? They sent me to school, and I had to turn in my weapon. So that was the story, Pop. So you can imagine with the letter that he sent me the next day, right? Well, that's a lucky break for you, so you better study. So anyhow, they shipped us to the end of the camp in Camp Chaffee. We're still in Camp Chaffee in the Army base, the same thing. But they have a separate camp, like just off to the end, like I guess that you don't hear too much noise or whatever else. And that's where the clerk typist school was. So we got the issue of just your Class A uniform, shine shoes, tie, hat. You're dressed up like, you're not dressed up in no fatigues. No extra duties, no guard duty, no KP or nothing. You just can study on your works. So that was, I think it was 8 weeks. 8 weeks or 12 weeks of school. I've slipped my mind now. But anyhow, it wasn't easy. You have to learn everything Army way, because you're the one that's going to be either in a tent doing your work with a typewriter and keep records straight of what the company that you represent, 120 men to the company, So you're responsible to know what you're doing. So everything was going all right. And like any other thing, you want to do the best at it. There's never enough time to do your studying, right? And lights go out at 9 o'clock. They don't care. No privilege of nothing. 9 o'clock, the lights are out. The only lights you have on is the bathrooms. So, if you didn't finish what you're supposed to be doing, I used to go in the bathroom and finish up. So, that's if you want to, develop yourself into what you want. Because you could just be a clerk typist, but you could be on the front lines in a tent. Somebody has always got to keep records straight, and you got to be close to where your company is, So maybe you're not on the front lines, but maybe the tent and everything might be 4 or 5 blocks or a quarter mile back, whatever it is. So it ended up at the end of the semester, have a graduating class. Everything's just like in high school when you graduate and stuff. Of course, there's nobody there. It's just us with the upper class military men, the captains and the lieutenants and whatever else to attend it. And it happened to be, now this is the typewriters of the old thing that everything is done mechanically with your hand. And nothing pushing buttons except the keys. So it ended up, my exam, I was able to accomplish 60 words a minute with no mistakes. And I did it. So that was a plus for me. Not realizing what it all was about. They don't tell you, the Army don't tell you too much of what you can go do with whatever what you do. So it ended up, when I got my diploma, mine had a 4405, which everybody in that class got. But if you did exceptionally well in it, they put a T at the end of it. So I had a 4405 T. So that made me feel really good. So when it was time to ship out, knowing all the bookwork and everything, I knew where I was going, Korea. Of course, I wrote home and told my parents, if the worst it comes, I'll be in Japan. I didn't want them to know really where I was going at the time. But I knew because of the way things are written up. And so we got there. The ship held, I think it was 17 or 1,800 soldiers. Big ship. And when we finally got there, it was in Busan. This is where the ship landed. So we unloaded us off of Busan, and they divide you up wherever you're going to go in Korea. So I didn't go too far. Maybe I'd say about 2 miles. So that was very good. The most you could hear is a bomb now and then far off or something. Just a little echo of whatever. And they put me right into a headquarters outfit because I was headquarters material. With that T was the help. But when I first got there, to take the place of a soldier that was already there, that I was taking his place. But I had to wait for him to get the shipment to get out. So it's about maybe 2 weeks or so that they just had me go to another building just to do some work or whatever. And when that person left, then I stepped right into the office. And that's when I took over. I had, my office was up front. Anyone that came in the building through the front door had to go by me first. And behind me was a sergeant major, which I used to relay the message to. And behind him, at his desk, was the captain. And then from the captain to the major, and stuff like that. And that's my career as far as being in the service. Now, we were exempt from all duties. We did nothing but just office, and that was it. We had special barracks. We had, we were treated almost like the regular, say, captains or lieutenants, except they were a notch higher as far as being. And we had the barracks. I guess there was about 10 guys in the barracks, and we had separate rooms. So that made us feel good also. It was like 4 rooms in this row, 4 rooms in this row, and the center. So that was okay. Then I ended up, I don't know, there was a stray cat somewhere, and he wandered into barracks one day, and for some reason he picked my bed to plop on. And when I go to the mess hall, he'd still be around, so naturally I always brought a little food back for him. And he knew it, so I was stuck with him. And but he was a nice little cat to have around. He used to sleep. Nobody had animals. You know, the soldiers there didn't really have any animals. So I felt good, like having something like that, and something special. And then maybe a month or so after that, this little Korean boy came around. He must have snuck in a fence on the side somehow. There was always a way for people to know how to come in. Good, they were good South Koreans there. And he came in and I got to know him. I guess I gave him a pack of cigarettes. I didn't smoke, so we used to get a carton a week. And he started hanging around. So first thing you know, he used to take care of my bed. He used to shine my shoes. So no complaints, you know. He'd and I'd give him a little food now and then, a soda and stuff, you know, whatever. And his name was Kim. I'd say he was about, they're hard to tell their ages, but he was shorter than I, which is not, you know, too much of a thing. But I'd say he was about 10, 11 years old, maybe. So we were good friends, and I used to help him out anywhere. If he needed a pair of socks or something, you know, I'd give him a pair of mine that I didn't need or whatever. So we were friends, and then before I left, I'll show you what he gave me, Dominic. I don't know, did I ever show you this picture?
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I really treasure this picture. One of these days I gotta really find out what, look how it was made on the back, if you remember, but which is an old piece of plywood with a sign must have been written on it, and they salvage it, you know. Because the South Koreans, they salvage everything what they could salvage of what the army throws away or whatever. So this just happened to be a piece of scrap of plywood. I forget if he said his cousin or his uncle made this picture, and he wanted to give it to me. So I treasure it till this day. And as you can see, it's still in very good shape. And, well, that's about the story there in Korea for me. We used to take rides around with the Jeep. We were allowed from the office. They would give us a pass to borrow a Jeep, which was good. And it was a little dangerous because you didn't want to go into town because you never do trust everything like in the city of Busan. It wasn't much. It was all, scrap. There was some good buildings and some bombed out buildings and things like that. So we used to go in the mountains. But very dangerous. The roads are not even roads. They're just paths, you might as well say, back in 1952. And when there's a curve, you look down from the mountain, and you know what you see? If that Jeep would ever go over, I don't think the Army would worry about you. They'd just replace you. And that was about it. So we had our weekends fun, if you want to call it that. And that was about it.
Explain now when you're leaving Korea. What'd you do?
When I left Korea?
When you left Korea.
I did the same thing as when I went there. When I first went on the ship, the guys, the Navy part of it, that called me in their office, and they says, "We have a job for you." I guess they looked at my MOS, and it was clerical work with typing. And they says, "We're going to put you on a team in the morning that you follow was 2 or 3 other sailors to inspect the whole boat. You got to inspect the bathrooms, the water fountains, whatever's on the ship." And I had to make notes. See, so my MOS came very, very handy for me. Because the other soldiers, on the ship, you had nothing to do. Just stay there and that was it. And then when I got done taking all the notes, I went up top deck where the offices were for the ship. And they gave me a room with a desk, typewriter, and I had to write, type in all the report for the day. So that was my duty every day, which I was glad, because took the time away of just doing nothing. So that worked out all right with me too. I sure didn't mind it. In fact, I really enjoyed it. I was treated well with the food and everything, whatever. Seems like everybody's really friendly at that time, like during the war or whatever, and so everything worked out all right, Dominic. When I got discharged, my captain from the office said, "Silvio, I'm going to tell you one thing now. Your ship that you're supposed to be on is going to be leaving in a few days, 2-3 days. That's already scheduled for you to leave. He says, well, I'm going to tell you, if you miss this shipment, which you can do, I can tell them that you decided to stay. You can stay another month, and I can put in for you for time and grade to become sergeant. He said you'll get a better muster and out pay when you leave to go to the States. And he said, and if you ever want to rejoin the service, you'll come in with a sergeant rating. Sounds good if that's what you want. But it was in the month of May. And over there they had May Day. It's like the communist part of their living over there. And there's a lot of commotion. Even in South Korea. You'll always find the stragglers that have a gun and want to shoot up, you know. So, it didn't take me much to thinking. I says, Captain Armour, what's his name? I said, I appreciate the offer, but when that ship is ready for me to leave, in 3 days, I think it was, I'm going to be on it. I said, I don't want to take that chance. another 3 weeks or another month for the next ship to come in. And that was my departure.
Now, when you came home, did you come right home, or where did they send you?
No, Fort Dix.
How long were you at Fort Dix?
I was there about, I don't know, maybe a week. And it's just all, you know, getting you ready to go home, that's all. You know, nothing much to do there, just wait for different orders to do this and that, that's all.
Now, part of the thing, one more thing I have to ask you is, what was its lasting impact on you?
I enjoyed it. I made good friends there. My supervisors, my captains and lieutenants and colonels and all the top brass that used to come in the office, I was always treated with good respect. And you know, there was only, I think, 2 air raids in our section that we had to go into the bunker. So, and they were false. And it did me good. I come out in better shape than I went in.
Now, did you do anything else with typing after the war? Because I know you did concrete, but did you do something with the business with the typing?
Nope, I just did I did my typing for the business, but that was it, you know. And I enjoyed typing. I put a lot of time to it, and I knew that was going to be what I wanted to do. So, but naturally, when I came home, you want me to continue?
Just for a little bit right after you came home.
All right, when I came home, naturally, you got to get a job. I told my dad, nope, I don't want to work for you. Because I worked for him before I went to the service. So I said, I feel like I just want to go out and get a job. Well, he said, that's all right, go ahead. So I had my car and everything, and it was a company named Door Glass on Boulevard. So I went there, and $1.65 an hour. That was good. So it lasted not even a year, maybe, or just about a year, whatever. So I couldn't make too much out of that. I was running broke all the time. Tell him, Pop, I need more money. Give me some, I always had to hit him for some extra money. So one day he says, look, you can't keep up like this, but if you come work for me and learn the business, I'll start you off with $1.25 an hour. So what would you do? Oh, I said $1.65? 65 cents an hour. Door glass. So that was the history of me getting back into the business. And that was my life. Concrete work.